days to go. Hope everyone's doing well. I have the other screen here. I want to make sure that it's live on YouTube as well. It looks like it is live. I want to make sure I see everything. Technical difficult. Want to make sure I've had some technical setbacks in the last couple of days, and so I want to make sure that's not happening. But it looks like we're live. All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to day number 25. And I'm reporting all the way from somewhere that has a beach and plenty of sand because it's spring break, and my family and I, well, my daughters, we have this tradition of we always do something for spring break and fall break. Spring break typically falls around Easter, and so with their school, we take the kids to. We've gone somewhere. Somehow we've made that a family tradition. So since all of them were born, before we started having kids, we were always doing something for the breaks. My wife and I would spontaneously go places, and since we started having kids, we continued that tradition. And so you are living, experiencing one with us. So yesterday, I think I mentioned it. Spent most of the day driving from Georgia to South Carolina to, well, specifically Middle Beach. So that is where we are hanging out the rest of the week, and but it's been fun. It's been exciting for the girls, and it's been rewarding for my wife and I as well. So we get to do this, and one would think you get to unplug and do all of that. That is not the case. It's like you're just doing more meaningful work, right? It's kind of like what I'll be talking about today. So I'm excited about it. But for everyone who's been on this journey with us, I'm grateful as always. Thank you for being here and continuing to show up. If you have not subscribed yet, please go ahead and subscribe. If you're just meeting me for the first time, then welcome. Thank you for joining us. My name is Nnamdi Ihenacho, and I am navigating, or I'm going through this journey, a challenge I give to myself. It's, my birthday. I turned 40 on April 25th. And so I made a commitment to show up live every day for 40 days, leading up to my birthday, to my 40th birthday. And in those sessions, I'm talking through life and lessons, things that I've learned, and I'm trying to impact that back because that has been my core. And so I want to kind of celebrate in that. I want to go through this whole season and say, yeah, this lessons and life and lessons and things that have happened for me since my consciousness till as I turn 40. So I know people have been blessed. I've been getting positive feedback. And so let's continue to subscribe. Let's continue to share. If anything we say resonates with you, please send me feedback. Tell me that blessed me. I will greatly appreciate it. I'm open to all of the kind words and affirmations and every of that. I'm receiving all of it. So even if you can't reach me to do a gift, any of that, the words mean everything to me. So keep bringing them and keep saying. For everyone who sends me goodwill messages, thank you. And I look forward to crowning this with my TED Talk on the 25th. And there's a lineup of events I'm going to start talking about next week to share what I have coming up in the months that follow. I want to do this. I want to make this a year of impact, and just it's also a clarity, just a defining. I want to make it a defining moment in my journey, and I'm trying to push myself more than I've ever pushed myself. I want to dare things that I haven't explored, make impact that I have not made, to reach as many people more than I've ever reached. And so that's my goal. So help me attain that. It's about impact and transformation and really just living out the core of my mission. And so that is what I want to do. So today I'll be talking about building for the next generation, right? Building for the next generation is what I'll be talking about today. It's about legacy, and this one it's important to me because my wife and I were having some conversations today around this same topic. Not necessarily talking about the topic, but along the lines of the things around legacy, and especially when it comes to family. Today it's the most important. I feel like the most important question that we have to answer as builders, as people who are creating, who's you're investing all this effort and time to build your business, to create something. You have to answer the question: who am I building this for? Right? Is this about just so that I can have enough and, pay my bills, live a good life, afford the luxury and find things. Again, that is not bad. But if you are building, then who is it for? I think we defined that a few weeks back where I talked about, when you are a builder, it's not just about you. You're seeing a problem and then you're called to solve it. You're stepping into. So for everyone who is identified as a builder, then who are you building for? And that is a very, very important question. And I want to draw that line between building for yourself and building for legacy, right? There's a meaningful difference between building for your own lifetime and building for the generation that follows, right? And the truth is, it's not going to happen by accident. There has to be a level of intentionality to it. If you are going to build something that will last, outlive you, that will be passed down beyond yourself, then it has to be what you have in mind, right? It will show in the structure you put in place. It will show in the approach and how you build. It will show in how you move, right? If you are building for you and your lifetime versus building for legacy, building for the generation, then it's going to show. The first one, building for yourself, is motivation. It's about, performance, achievement. When you're building for yourself, that's your drive. You're just motivated. You want to make things happen, right? But when you are building for the next generation, it's legacy, right? And the core of it is about sacrifice. It's about investment. The decisions that will benefit not just you personally but beyond you. That's the thought process, right? Legacy minded builders, they make a difference, right? They make it different. They make it different kind. They make their decision making is different. Let me put it that way. When you are a legacy minded builder, the way you make decisions, it's different. They document what they know so others can learn from it. That's the mindset of a legacy minded person. Legacy minded builders create structures that can outlast them. They invest in people who will carry their work further than they could alone. They measure success not by just what they achieved, but by what they made possible for others, right? It's so important to keep this in mind. It's again, I can tell if you're just hustle focused, I want a good life and all of that, it will show in the level of your approach to work. Like you're good when it's good. But for somebody who is driven by legacy, it's not just about all things are good. It's about I am building for more than myself. I'm building for more than just me being good. The infrastructure you put in place is going to be one where this thing can live and move without me. You are keen on documentation. Like, you can't, and I've seen this a lot where, and I've seen this, I've been close to this in many situations, right? Being part of just doing work and building things, organizations, not mine, right? That are not me, I've been part of building, let me put it, whether it's different kinds of organizations that I don't have any stake in. And I've seen the approach of founders. The people, there are people who document everything, operational guides, everything. There is manuals and SOPs and other kinds of documentation in place for these organizations to where it can function. Like you can tell, I'm building beyond myself in the approach of these people. And then I've also been close to other organizations where these documents exist, but nobody has access to them except the founder. Nobody knows they exist, right? There is, it's not accessible, it's not reviewable, it's often spoken about but never seen. And that is something that's different. It's a difference in mindset. The I've had this conversation a lot with my wife where we talk about, just what do we share and what don't we share? Well, like when you're building at scale, right? I'm not necessarily worried about somebody trying to usurp my idea or usurp what we're trying to do. And no, if you do it and do it well as we are going to do it, then you deserve any success that you get out of it, right? For me, this is about empowering people. It's about setting it up to where it's going to be here. We set our infrastructure that it's going to be here beyond us, where people can, it's constructed and things are put in place to where anybody coming in has a place where they fit in. The documentation, the paths are clear. And how it's going to grow, how it's going to transition, how people are going to come in, how people are going to be onboarded. all of that is a sign of just a mature organization that is beyond just the founder, beyond just the CEO, beyond just one person. And again, if some people you just want to have a thing, your thing, do your thing, and have a good life and all of that, and you're necessary, that's not bad, right? And so, but I'm trying to make sure that we are clear on the difference in the approach you tell. I don't care. I don't necessarily care what you say. I care what you do, and I can tell whether you are building for beyond yourself based on the structure of play. And it doesn't matter the size of the organization, right? Whether you are small or big, the intentionality is going to be the same. Honestly, what you don't do when you are small, you are likely not going to do when you grow. That's just the truth. And so the small beginnings are going to be a reflection. Somebody who is an organization that does not reflect quality and excellence at the smaller, mundane sizes and levels will not, when you start doing big things, will not suddenly become an excellent organization. That's just not how it works. And so small beginnings are often a reflection. One of my revered role models said, as the morning tells the day, and I don't think it's an original quote from him, but I learned the quote from him. He said, as the morning tells the day, so does a child tell the man. And so we can predict future behavior by current patterns, right? Current patterns today will predict future behavior. And so I can tell whether you are building for yourself or for legacy based on the infrastructure, based on how you move, based on the setup you put in place. And this is a very important conversation for my immigrant community as well. And I always like to be direct when it comes to talking about Africans and the African diaspora in particular, because we have this construct and concept around I want to outdo, but again, it has to go beyond that. There is, I'll call it a generational gap, right, within the immigrant community. First generation immigrants, often sacrifice everything for their children. But sometimes the infrastructure that will allow these children to go further, the networks, the institutions, the cultural capital was never built. And so it's like these kids that are born to first generation parents, they still go and they don't have the head starts, as you were, that our contemporaries, who from immigrant communities have. And again, it's not to throw shade, it's just to call out something. Because we get so caught up in the hustle and we get so caught up in the survival, and then so it's now like I just want to send my kids to the best schools and send them to the best places. And my business is I just want to make a little more so I can afford to pay that they don't graduate with student loans. So like, those things are great. But then they have to start from the beginning. Like they graduate and then that's it. I've given you the best education. That's my best shot. And so now you have to take that degree and do something with it. While that is great and you've given them a level of head start, that is still not, it's not how will I put this nicely? Or there's still a gap, right? You haven't given them, you've not built something that they're stepping into. Let me put it that way. We haven't built, and I don't want to remove myself, but you have not built something your kids can step into. If all you've given them is a good education, if all you've given them is, and I'm not playing these things down, please hear me correctly when I say this, because I'm also doing the same thing. And I send my kids, I live in a very good grade school district, and I still send my kids to private school because of the values I want them to adopt. And so when I tell you I understand the sacrifice, and I'm leaving this, it's been something that I've been privileged to, but I'm speaking specifically for people who are building infrastructure, building businesses, right? It's beyond just if all your business leaves is a no student loan for your child, now they can go start their life without debt, and that's it. That is not generational, it's not generational wealth, right? You set them up, you've given them like you've at least they're not starting from behind, so that's good. They're not starting from scratch, so that's good. They have a head start on you, that's good. They are better than you just by the life you've afforded them. They are already doing better. They are starting from a more better position, but now they're not stepping into anything you've built. They will still have to go and interview, and they will still have to go make their own way, and that's the difference. I want to see more African-owned businesses here, African immigrant-owned businesses where they grow to a certain level and then the kids grow up and step into it and continue the legacy of their father and then exponentially grow that thing. Like I want to see more ventures, more ventures with the name of the family on it, where it's generational, it's standard crazy like mad organizations. I want to see Mercedes, right, where it's the name is the family name, more Fords, but for immigrant communities, right? We have them back home, especially from where I'm from. You hear, you see people like so and so and sons and all of that. And while that's the case, it's not necessarily the and sons thing, but more building something that your children should be able to step into and then their children and then that thing continues to grow. That should be that generational gap. We need to start looking for, we need to start having a level of intentionality in building that. So as we make sacrifices, we also need to start building and creating structure to ensure that we're giving our kids a head start in terms of if they don't ever have to, like my hope and my prayer is that by the time it's my kids' turn to step into the world of work, when it's time to do interns, we are a place where they can intern in our organization. When it's time to take their first job that we can, like they can grow within, like we have what it takes for them to have a successful career and they don't have to adjust. They have goals and their dreams, and those are things that we have infrastructure to support within the organization that we're building. That's my hope, and that's the mindset. And so the infrastructure that we put in place with how we build our businesses is such that you can tell it's built to last, even though it's small. The Bible talks about with Job, like though thy beginning may be small, thy greater latter end shall greatly multiply. And I take that to heart. Like the small beginnings, don't despise the days of little beginnings. Small beginnings are small beginnings, but they are beginnings. Everything starts small, basically. Every great thing starts small. And so it's just building with intention to know that, hey, this is going to be great. And my family, my kids will step into this one day. That's my vision. That's my prayer. And for us as a community, as an organization, that's the gap that we're trying to close with the African American Collective, with NSTAR. It's making sure that this first generation is not starting from scratch, right? That all that we're giving them is not just good education and no student loans. I think I want to see, that's my challenge. I want us to go beyond just, we've done well with the no student loans, we paid through your way through school. Now we want your first job to be in your father's company. And not that you're doing it to help, you're actually doing meaningful work and getting paid well, and you now fast tracking your way to leadership and to where you can in a few years start running the organization, right? Where your dad can start retiring because they know the most trusted people in their life are the ones stepping into that. And I say this again, with everything we're building, my hope is that these little girls that are driving me crazy right now will become something they're excited about, the things that we do, and they want to be a part of it, right? That they go to school with intention to go and find themselves within the framework of what we built, and there's enough potential, there's enough for them there. There's enough. It's big enough to where they can find their place inside what we've built, whether within AIM Collective or whether it's within NSTAR Technologies or Rooted in Faiths or every other venture that we are navigating and other initiatives that we're driving. That's my hope, right? My hope is that they don't have to go through the things that I went through. They don't have to apply to 1,000 jobs and interview it 10,000 times to get one yes. I hope for them it's when you're talking to people at interviews, the way is already clear. You're going there as a leader of a corporation, right? And going there with a level of credibility and expertise and experience and education to where, you're not just getting a head start. You are positioned for greatness, basically. And that's my hope. And that's the realization that I navigate life and business with today, is the work I do now is creating a different starting point for my girls. It's creating a different starting point. The version of America that they will encounter is going to be far different from the one that I started with, the one that I encountered when I first started, right? And that's what's shaping it's being shaped by the work that I'm doing today. Okay, the America they are already growing up in this difference. The experiences, there are certain things that I have navigated and gone through, they will never ever be able to, it will never make sense to them, right? Because of the head starts they already have. And I'm hoping even to career pursuits and business pursuits and legacy and all that, it's the same story. I want it to be, I can't relate, right? Because because of all the things that will be in place by the time it's your turn. That's my dream. That's my dream. Like that the America they get to experience will not be the one I got to experience. It's N Star. The name N Star is Nnamdi and Stella, right? That's N Star. Stella Star is Stella means star. And so we started this thing with legacy in mind, right? As much as it's about the impact, but it's also something that's meant to be generational, right? It's a generational investment. My goal is, a student who graduates today is going to be a mentor to other students in the next 5 years. Right now, the infrastructure we're working on, we're looking to start reaching back out to people who have gone through our programs with the direction we're taking. With the demands of work today we just recently put out announcements on the direction we're going with our training programs, and we want to, again, just to match the demands of the world of work today. And so that's the reason for the approach that we are taking, or a change in approach. We want to make sure that we are not just staying relevant, but we are also providing relevant training to our students so that they can go and want to exponentially increase their chance of success. Our goal is, as we've built this new direction, one of the things we're looking to do is collaborate with other people to be faculty, right? We have people who've identified who we want to reach out to partner with us as, faculty, as learning, I won't say learning partners, that's an AIM terminology. Knowledge partners is an AIM term. But they are basically partnering with us, and we're looking to pull from previous students, right? People who have gone through our programs and have found success. And they understand the work that goes in, they understand our process. And now they can partner with us to continue to expand the work. That's legacy, that's the play, right? Bring people back to continue providing access, to continue to build and pay forward while still getting compensated, right, properly, while still having ownership, while still having, belonging to this thing, and it's paying you, but it's also giving you the satisfaction of impact, right? That's our goal. That's the N-Star investment. That's, we want to, our students that we do this, that are doing this, are the ones that they're the world of work, right? And so they know how the world of work is changing. They're in touch with the changes in the technology. We try to stay on top of those things, but somebody who is in the field, right? And all of the people, and and it's also beyond the scope of one course, two courses. There's so many, and we want to make sure that everything we're putting together. And so we're working with people who have navigated our programs, who have encountered our ecosystem, and are willing to continue that, who are excited about the legacy of impact that we are building. And we're collaborating with them to continue to serve as mentors and to help us position ourselves for the future. The curriculum that we are writing will outlast us. That's the prayer. The organization, that you've built and we're building will serve people that we will never meet. That's it, right? People will never meet. The African American Collective, our legacies and institutional legacy, the advocacy work that we're doing, the changes in policy, the things that we're navigating. We've done our immigration clinics 2 months now. I don't know, I haven't met a lot of the people who have gone through the programs. I haven't met them one time, but their immigration journey is going to be better. Their experience, I'm pretty sure some people's lives have just been saved by having those conversations with those attorneys for free. And we may never meet them. They may never get a chance to shake my hands or say thank you. I might see them and never know who they are, right? I'm not going back to check the names of the people who have gone through these things, right? For me, it's about, give me the numbers. Okay, this is how many people are serving. how can we continue to do more and make sure it's about, okay, putting structure in place. How do we scale impact and do this not just for 20 people, but for 100, for 1,000? How do we make this a national movement, right? To make sure that we are an organization that has a voice, that's representing our people, the African immigrants populace here in the United States. That's the dream. That's the goal, right? People that we may never meet, but will be grateful that they encountered AIM or NSTAR. The people that, like, we're doing this for immigrants who are going to come in the next 5 years, 10 years. Let them come and meet infrastructure that we do not have, that's already built to ensure that they don't have to start from scratch, that they don't have to struggle, they don't have to figure it out themselves, they don't have to depend on their relatives' experiences that might not be relevant to where they're trying to go or what they're trying to do. That's what we're building for. It's about legacy. It's about transformation. It's about impact, right? And the scripture supports this, in Psalm 78, verse 4. The Bible says that we will not hide from their descendants. We will tell the next generation the praiseworthy deeds of the Lord, his power, and the wonders that he has done. So everything that God was doing was supposed to was generational. It was meant to be passed down. If you look through and read through the Old Testament, every time there was emphasis on tell your children, tell the generations coming, write them down so that the generations will read and see how God delivered you people. Like there's a legacy intention around God, and there's legacy intention based on how if we are true builders, then that's the direction we should take. That's the direction we should follow. And so my question to you, is, what are you building? What are you building again? Going back to where I started, and who are you building for? Who are you building for? And so I want to kind of help us identify the legacy dimension of what you're already building. If you're a builder, you're already doing a business, I want us to answer a few questions to see just some legacy questions so I can see that legacy dimension of what you're doing, or at least start having that in mind. Start thinking beyond yourself. So the first question I want you to answer is, if you disappear tomorrow, what would continue? And that your business. If you were not there anymore, if you weren't there, you disappeared for a month, 2 months, 6 months, right? You weren't there anymore. What will continue? If the answer is nothing, then you have built a job, not an organization. And this is always something, again, at the beginning, it might seem like, yes, you have to play multiple hats, but you have to start thinking beyond that whole scope of, I have to be all things to all men, right? There has to be infrastructure where this thing comes. If not, you just have a job. And if that's what you want, that's okay. Just make sure you define that. Number two, what knowledge do you carry that exists only in your head? Again, builders, we need to answer this. What are the things, what knowledge do you carry that exists only in your head? Or let me phrase it this way. What knowledge about your organization exists that only you has access to, right? Because it might not exist in your head. Maybe you documented it somewhere, but you're the only one that knows where that document exists. You're the only one that knows. You're the only one editing this. You're the only one contributing this documentation. You're the only one who is making alterations to it. You're the only one who speaks of it and references it, because it's only you that knows where it is, right? And so if that's the case, again, knowledge needs to be documented, it needs to be taught or transferred, right? One of the things, I onboarded 2 new staff in the last 2 weeks, let's say in the last month. One is about a couple that's in our second week. The other one is about to be in their first month. And the most overwhelming thing that I'm sure is the documentation that they've had access to and received. The other day, I sat down with them and I took time and I was walking them through, these are the objectives, these are the things that you need to focus on, this is what your job requires. Again, for a growing organization, I need to make sure that it's immersive for them so they buy into what we're doing and they understand it, because that's how they will carry this. Because I want you to step in, step to your roles like I would, right? Represent me, do it the way I would, uphold the standard that we're trying to create. And that doesn't happen if you don't have clarity, if there's no understanding of how things should work. And so that is my approach to ensure that legacy. So I'm just giving an example of what I've just done recently. any knowledge that exists only within your circumference and nobody else has access to. I'm thinking, if what documents do I have now within, like, at the confidential ones, what's confidential? You do have to look at it, except ones that have my personal social security or any of those. But even business registration documents are accessible. Our registration documents, all of these things, they're accessible. Because again, I also want people to move quickly. If things decisions need to be made, and you can't reach me, you have what you need to move, right? Anytime I notice, okay, there's something that they had to wait for me to, be available for it to happen, it's a pointer to a gap. And I've always been very keen on, like, yes, we are a growing organization. Yes, it's a young nonprofit. I still want things to move seamless. I still need to function like, okay, yes, this guy is in front of it, but we have a solid framework, right? Where we know how the right person steps in and this thing will still continue, right? That's the goal. And then third, who are you specifically investing in that will carry this in further than you can? This is very important. Who are you pouring into, right? Again, you can't say you're building for the future and then there is no body that you are intentionally nurturing for that. And again, you might not be in a place where you have somebody that's there that's going to step in or any of that, but you can spread around your team, right? That knowledge should be where if all of them come together, piece by piece, what they know should be equal and it should be enough to, if they put it all together, it should form you, right? Basically, like it's like we put all the things we know, different parts of you now exist across all of these people. That if they all came together, it's like, oh, okay, I think we have what it takes to continue driving this mission forward. And so who are you specifically invested in, right? All of those your staff, who can carry this thing. A lot of times, these guys also bring level of experience and expertise that you don't have. So your goal is to transfer these things to them and let them own it and get out of the way and then let them shine. Let them do what they do. If you hire good people, let good people be good people. Let them be great, right? And that's how now it elevates you, it continues. So I feel like I'm talking about two different things. But it's about, again, you're pouring into people, you're transferring the knowledge, you are intentional about, like, these people are going to be different. They are going to be flag bearers in their own area. I tell my staff, I want you to be the CEO of your role, right? If you're social media, don't think of yourself. Don't think like an operator. Think like an architect, right? Think ownership, think design, think, okay, how this is what we have. How do I elevate this and kill this, right? That's the mindset that's the standard I hold my staff to and my team. And it's about, like, own your stuff, you're empowered, go and shine. Okay, it's so important. Legacy, does not require fame. As I start to wrap up, it doesn't require fame, it requires faithfulness, right? It's not about, who knows you or how much. No, it's about being faithful, being consistent, how you show up. It's about structure. Okay, the parent who raises a child with deep values, the manager who develops the next generation of leaders, the founder who builds an organization that serves people they will never know. All of it is legacy. It's all a legacy play, right? It's all the legacy play. So, quick question for you: what is one way you can make what you are building today more inheritable or more transferable to the next person? Or let me not say next person, but to the next person coming behind you, right? What is one way you can make what you are building currently something that passes down beyond you, right? Let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are. And then, if someone might be asking a question, how do you build legacy when you're still in survival mode? And this is very important. I'm trying to eat, man. I'm trying to pay bills. Just trying to make it through the month. You're just trying to make it through. Start small and start now. That's what I'll say. Start small, start now. Legacy is not built in one grand gesture. It takes a process. It's built, in the daily decisions, the daily habits, the way you show up, your work. That's how legacy is built, right? Just make sure it's serving someone beyond yourself. Even in survival mode, you can still mentor one person. You can still document your process. You can still make sure again that it's not just living in your head, that there's still systems in place. Because if you start documenting now, start draw out your, even if you're the one filling all those roles, still have that separation. Because one day what you're doing is going to pop, right? And when that first breakthrough comes, and you need to bring somebody on board, now you're not trying to now do it then. You already have it, right? You bring the second person, you already have that infrastructure in place, right? You already have those separation of duties. You already have those the pieces of documentation. That's how you, that's the legacy play. So while your beginning is still small, while you're still at the foundational stages of your business, it is still incumbent on you to ensure that you still move like somebody who is building for a generation, not just for yourself. All right. I hope somebody gets it. Right. Again, I've told you stories of my journey, whether we end, start, we aim, all of these things. We've always built with intention that these things are generational. We might not have our names on the building yet, but it's going to happen, right? We are still going to, adorn the skylines of Atlanta and major cities in the United States. And Start Technologies, African Collective, that is going to happen. Like I know and I feel that strongly in my spirit. I have seen it in my mind. I truly believe the Lord has shown that to me. And so I'm not worried about where this thing is going, and that has always been the intention. So yes, it might not seem that way for us today, but we build with that picture in mind. Like we build with that picture in mind. One of my dear friends, my brother Leke, he designed when I declared that declared that we're going to be on skylines in Atlanta, he did our logo like a big billboard on a skyscraper type building, and he sent me the picture, and I framed it, and I still have it in our home office back home, so that I can look at it. As far as your eyes can see, so will it be. That's what the word says, and I'm looking at that as a picture of the future. Like it's a reminder that this is where we're going. And so when the times are tough, I know what I'm building for. Right? We don't compromise value. We don't compromise quality. We don't compromise process. Um, I intentionally don't do certain things, that I've staffed for, because that is how this thing will continue. Where I am not a roadblock. Even if I know, I mean, I was in a position to do doing a lot of things at the beginning stages, and so it's I've created these roles, and I make sure that the people in the roles are functioning, they are equipped. I'm having conversations and saying, making sure that you are empowered to handle this thing. So that's the approach, that's the play. My prayer is that for everyone who is building, that you are the legacy that you're trying to build will definitely find full expression. That is my prayer for everyone, every partner in this process of building something meaningful that's going to outlast you. Tomorrow is about community. I'll be talking about community as a strategy. We're going to be bringing, business and professional, that business professional lens to what we've been talking about all week. So come ready. It's Friday. Let's come have a good time. But thank you all so much for, again, hanging out. If you have not subscribed, please do so. If you are watching the clip, make sure the clips go out and all of that. Whether the live, the dailies clips that I do on Instagram, the cut ups from these sessions, forward them to people. Encourage somebody. I know a lot of value is being shared. Don't gatekeep. I don't want to be your best kept secret. I want to make impacts. It's about legacy for me as well. So make sure you're spreading the word, and let's keep serving our generation. I want to be like David. When it's done, I want it to be said of me that he served his generation and then he slept at a very good old age. I want to be here for a long time. So that's my heart, and that's my prayer. And this, 40th year journey is just resetting a lot of, just reminding me of all of these things. So thank you to everybody who has been on this journey. Let's keep going. I'll say a prayer, and I'm praying, Father, for every parent, for everyone building, for every founder, for every leader who is building something for the next generation. And I ask that, God, you give them the right perspective on what they are building, so that they can see beyond themselves, help their decision making, so they can put things in perspective in the choices they make, and see a lot of the things that they're doing. They might never meet the people that they are serving, but it's about the impact, and it's about transformation, and it's about legacy. It's about generations after us beyond ourselves. That is what we want. We want to see more businesses emerge that will outlive founders, that will feed generations, that will transform destinies and lives. That's what we're looking for. I pray that somebody who is watching this will experience that, and that will be a testimony several years from today. Thank you, faithful Father, for everything. We give you praise. We love you. We give you praise. We give you glory. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Again, thank you all, everybody. I know I didn't bring all the energy today. That's because we've been a lot of sun drained. I was drained by the sun because we were outside quite a bit. But it's for a good cause. So thank you all. I will see you tomorrow, same time. I guess at this point, just show up, keep checking, and I'll see you tomorrow around 10 ish. All right. Thanks.